A very good morning and welcome to Tuesday's edition of Newsline. I'm Arundhati Mudannayak and joining me is senior journalist Faraz Shaukat Ali. Good morning, Faraz.
Good morning, Arundhati. How are you?
Doing very well.
Good.
So, what's with the tie today?
The old school tie. Actually, this is all about pride. It starts at school, and then as you go on, it turns into national pride, and we need that. We need to be proud. Proud to be Sri Lankan.
On that note, we'll go ahead with today's headlines. We'll start off with daily news. Of course, the headline in many of the newspapers today, Mangala proposes Truth Commission, Office of Missing Persons to be set up by statute. And then findings are of most serious nature, says the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Zaid Rad Al Hussein. Now, is this something that we need to worry about for us?
Well, we must give it due consideration. But of course, we must bear in mind that these are allegations, and the government must be provided with the details of these allegations so that our government can make a considered response and take it on from there. So in that context, it's important.
Now, is the UN for the Sri Lankan government?
I don't think the UN is for anyone in particular, other than the UN is there to ensure a fair, accountable process. And that's for everyone, not just for Sri Lanka, not just for the Americans or the Iraqis, the Afghans, but for everyone. So there's nothing of this. The UN are with us now, and they're not, and they're with them before.
But definitely, the United States is showing a green light.
The United States is showing a maturity of understanding, is how I'd say. Previously, the United States tried the stick approach. It appears to me that they are now trying the carrot approach. They understand that there are certain things a sovereign government simply cannot do because it's politically unsaleable. So now there is a better understanding.
So is it because of a regime change here in Sri Lanka?
Well, it appears that way because they didn't give us the carrot before. It was more the stick. And but that was perhaps because they were unhappy with our policies at the time. And of course we must remember that President Rajapaksa was a zealous guardian of our sovereignty and of the quest for us to solve the problem. That this was a homegrown problem needing a homegrown solution. That was his line in essence.
So let's move on to our next newspaper, The Island. It reads, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe being received by Indian Prime Minister of Commerce and Industry. Now, this is all about his Indian visit. So anything in particular to talk about?
Well, it's good. India is our superpower neighbor, and we must forge close links, both from a foreign policy perspective and also from an economic perspective.
Is there any significance that Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe made his first diplomatic visit to India and not any other country?
Well, yes, but I mean, it's not. It can be marketed in that way. And India is, after all, an important trading post for us, and there are many opportunities that the Indians can create for its tiny neighbor. So yes, that's important in that way.
Right. Then let's move on to the Daily Mirror. Now it says Gota and Namal report to FCID. Is this a new development?
Well, it's yet another inquiry that the FCID are conducting, and but they went there on separate matters. The former Defence Secretary was there to answer questions about the funding of a monument that is in the ownership of the D.A. Rajapaksa Foundation in Veeraketia, the homeland of the Rajapaksa family. And the younger Rajapaksa was there on a different matter.
Right. So there's another interesting headline, Sakriti Ranasinghe and 10 others indicted.
Well, yes. This matter is to do with this the Ponzi scheme where they took people's monies and then collapsed.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that Sakriti is being and others are being indicted, but we have no information that any such indictment is going to be happening on the Golden Key matter. And the principle is the same. The public lost their money, and for whatever reason, and so both Sakriti and Golden Key operated in similar ways. But we see that the law is being applied only to one side. I am told that you can butter the slice of bread on both sides. So it seems to be inequitable to me. So let's wait and see. Watch this space, as they say.
So let's talk about the story that shocked the entire country. The 5-year-old girl abused and strangled, and there were reports that close relatives of the family are the main suspects.
Yes,
in this incident.
It's tragic, really, and I am comforted that the Sri Lanka police will carry out their job, and they do it when there's no interference from politicians or from others in having so-called power. The Sri Lanka Police Department actually do a good job, and we must have faith in that ability, and we hope that a speedy end to this investigation can be had, and importantly that it goes through the judicial process expeditiously, so that people see that justice is seen to be done quickly before they forget.
Now you always have your sources talking to you. What is your inside story today for us?
Well, actually the inside story is connected with the story that you've just mentioned, and that is that my sources reveal that the former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who was questioned yesterday by the FCID in connection with the funding of a monument in Veeraketya, has the investigation surrounds a 90 million valued monument, rupees 90 million, and my sources indicate that the former Defence Secretary has agreed to repay some of these monies. So that all goes well. And so in that context, the FCID has been successful, because I wonder if there was no regime change in January, would the public have got the money back? It's just a question. I'm not inferring or not inferring anything. Okay, so that's what my sources told me last night.
Definitely. Okay. Now it's time to welcome our guest this morning, Mr. Bandula Jayasekara. Good morning. He's a senior journalist and a former diplomat. For us?
Good morning, Bandula.
Morning, Farah.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, very much.
Bandula, very important things happening out of our country.
Yeah, but before that, I also would like to make a comment on that, what you said was that Mr. Rajapaksa has agreed to pay back. But it's not only Mr. Rajapaksa. For over the years, I remember there was a certain minister who installed an elevator, in his official residence for his mother to go. 2 million rupees. I don't know whether he has paid that. There are so many of these people have abused public funds, and we have to go back and look into this. And that time he boasted and said, "So what? I did this." He used the funds from the Port Authority. So there are so many issues like that which people have to pay back to the public.
Actually, yes, you're right, Bandula. I remembered, but too late that I remembered. But there was a case where the former foreign minister had a sort of a party in Washington or New York. Yeah. And I think it was, if I remembered right, it was about $46,000.
A birthday party.
That's right. And I wonder if that money was ever recovered.
Yeah, I don't think so. In fact, he also, I think during one of our programs, he said that he stayed at Sheraton in Geneva. He said that he paid for it. But when I checked with the foreign ministry, They said no, it was Sarala Fernand who was our permanent representative of the UN in Geneva. She paid, the foreign ministry paid. And today, that minister is lost. He's lost it. He's got only 8,000 votes, and the reports say that he's gone to business. I mean, let's name him. That was Rohit Bogalagam. I'm not scared to name anybody.
No, that's right, yeah. I just couldn't recall the name. But this is what happens. There's all this hot air, but there's hardly any delivery. And that's why, when my sources told me about this offer to repay the money, because obviously this money was from the low-lying reclamation board, and money needs to be spent in accordance with the act that governs the LLRB.
Yeah, and then I can recall, like, I've served in 3 countries. Sometimes we have to write, 10 letters to get $50 approved. Right. It was very difficult, to repair a car or whatever. But this public money is spent for their personal needs. Everybody. I'm not only saying Ms. Rajapaksa, everybody for so many years. That itself is important. We are talking of poverty and so many other things. If we had saved those funds, then, we can provide a better transport service.
That's
to the masses.
That's true. So, Bandla, moving on to what's happening in Geneva, we have Prince Al Zayed saying that these findings are of a serious nature. Sounds very, very bad news.
Yeah, for us.
How bad is it?
Yeah, but see, even in the past, that the government of Sri Lanka then questioned this. There was this clause where you cannot question the witnesses for 25 to 30 years. There were holes in these things. Right. So, and it was, the government at that time felt it was one-sided. So, which I wouldn't, I was a part of the system that I would agree with that. I really would agree with that. But now, the present foreign minister is reaching out.
Yeah.
So, let's see how it works out.
And do you see a softening of the stance taken by the Americans?
It looks like, but I think we need to engage. I think some of the faults which we had before was that we were firefighting. That was wrong. So we really should engage. However much it hurts, we got to engage. But I agree with you when you said what President Rajapaksa, when you are pushed and try to be bullied, then he won't, you cannot give in. Nobody would give in.
That's right.
He was correct in that instance.
Indeed. But what will happen, Bandula? What will happen? Will this lead to the arrest of some of our officers in the army, maybe our politicians, maybe the former defense secretary, even the former president?
No, it's very interesting. It's left to be seen. I remember. Now see, all these people have to take responsibility. I remember during the presidential campaign, with I don't know whether I should say campaign rhetoric, but I remember the present president, Maithripala Sirisena, claimed in his campaign, I was the acting defense minister when this took place, when it ended. So that was political. So that means everybody has to take responsibility for that. But we also have to look at it that, we are at peace. Right? If we are at fault, we have to say, we must learn to say sorry. We must say sorry. It's because it's very difficult for these South Asians to say sorry.
That's true.
Where after years, like say, Canada and Australia, after 100 years, they say sorry and everything is forgiven. Which I think we have discussed in this program. In 1994, Chandrika said sorry for the 83 riots. Nobody is talking about it. She had the guts and the courage to say sorry. But people will talk of Harper in Canada, who said sorry to the First Nations, and Kevin Rudd in Australia, who said sorry to the Aborigines, but they are still being harassed. But where Chandrika said what during the UNP regime, what happened? So people will not, remember her. But she had the courage after like 9 years. She said sorry. So we need to, these are our people. Whether you are Tamil, Muslim, Malay, Burgh, we are our people. So we have to work together.
Indeed, we must acknowledge that strength that President Kumaratunga had to do that. I wish he was more forceful on other matters as well.
Yeah, but it was very interesting. I saw in one of the newspapers, even in the Sinhala newspapers, that she's been appointed the organizer for Attanagal electorate. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. I missed that.
That's the story of the day, Faraz.
What is this lady doing? I mean, come on, Bandala. She is a grandmother, and her children do not want their mother to be meddling in politics in Sri Lanka. They love the woman, so they want her back.
Come on, grandmothers can act grand. I'm sure they can. That's why they're known as grandmothers.
But these kids want their mum with them over there. And they have.
I would know that, so you know it better, so.
Well, I mean, I think she just can't get this political blood out.
So see, Mahinda Rajapaksa should retire. Chandrika should retire and let President Maithripala Sirisena run this country.
Are we reading too much into it when we see the President Rajapaksa jet skiing with his security chappie behind him and with his son clearly enjoying some quality time? Do you think he's on his way to retirement?
I think it's good. See, we all have to retire, right? We all have to. It's good for politicians all to retire and enjoy the freedom. Because instead of troubling us, I mean, all politicians, I'm saying, we should have a retirement age for the politicians also.
So let's go. That's true. Let's go back to Geneva. What will happen? The Americans seem to have softened it. They appear to be welcoming a domestic mechanism, which they opposed previously, and now with this regime change, they seem to be thinking that, well, let's give this thing a chance.
Yeah, I also see now we are also reaching out to them. They are also reaching out, which is healthy. I mean, I think I would say for us that is diplomacy, which is very good. But you must see what is now. I saw it in one of the newspapers that they are going to America and Sri Lanka are going to have a joint draft resolution. That I have my doubts. You cannot have a draft resolution together. This is our country, like you said. We have our dignity, but we can engage for sure. We really should engage more. That's important.
But to the people on the ground in the former conflict areas, what does it really mean? This is a joint resolution or whatever it is. What does it mean to the people on the ground?
What I feel is this is all discussed in Colombo. Right. Colombo and certain areas in few cities and among, I hate to say that, but some elite. Right, I don't think the people in the ground, they are bothered of it. You know, they have other issues. Like, see, people to people, if you take the Sinhalese, Tamils, Muslims, all, they have no issues. They are together. They have day-to-day issues. So they are concerned of that, how to, survive the next day. But there has to be a healing process also to reach out. But see, this is all created by the politicians. This hatred, anger, people use this communal angle to win votes. Even certain things, even in the South, they use the caste. That should stop.
Indeed they should. But do you think that will happen in our lifetime? Yours, mine?
Let's hope. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but maybe in my lifetime.
You're hopeful?
Yeah, I'm hopeful.
Wow. Well, I just hope that in my lifetime, the people of Jaffna and in those areas will have pipe-borne water. Because I don't know if you know this, but
no, I know it. And
there's only 2% in Jaffna.
2%, and then there is no entertainment. They have nothing to do. Now, see,
that's right.
They are taking the alcohol consumption has gone up because the youth need to be occupied. There have to be a lot of sporting activities, entertainment. There has to be much more. And let's not forget that these are our people who suffered. We suffered through an insurrection by the JVP twice.
Yeah.
But this 30 years, we have to reach out much more and do it, and then I am very appreciative of this trilingual policy which the former Indian President Abdul Kalam came along. These are things which we should do. Now, we were taught Tamil, I learned Tamil till grade 8 and then they stopped it. Those were the wrongs. If we can communicate, we'll be able to understand better.
And so do you think that, it augurs well for the people on the ground?
No, I mean, there is hope, but we want things to be done. A lot of people talk, we want to see, like you said, really what are people going and working there and see, like they have the necessity, like education, health and transport, the basics have to be provided.
No, you have more knowledge on this because obviously you're fortunate enough to serve in these diplomatic missions abroad. Bandolo, now the UN is saying this, and the US is saying this, and Britain is saying whatever. Where's the money? This country is not some rich outpost, right? We're an emerging economy. Can't they give us some money to do these various things?
Yeah, they should.
Like the water district.
And I also must clear something what Arundhati asked. See, you talk of the UN. UN tried. UN forgot at the point that they consist of member states. UN at once upon a time tried to behave like a bully. We are a member. We pay a fee to the UN. So they thought, okay, we are bigger than the membership. We are all members. That's how. But coming back to what UNICEF, UNESCO, they are doing, but they could do more. But we also have to come with these proposals and projects, and be more transparent. And I'm sure they are willing to help the countries. And also, it's not what they want. We have to do feasibility studies and say this is what our people need, this, and then take it from there.
I sometimes I yearn for strongmen like in the mold of, let's say, Colonel Gaddafi, who I think very famously, on an occasion when he was traveling in his country, somebody asked him, can we have a mosque here? And he got hold of, I believe he was a heavy smoker at one point, and he got a pen and a pack of cigarettes, and he wrote out his order, build them a mosque here. And that was the order. So I yearn for somebody like that to come to Sri Lanka and to say to our president, President Sirisena, what is it that you want? And if he says, look, Jaffna needs pipe-borne water, it needs a good sewage system, and so on. And why can't the British or the Americans, do they not have the capacity financially to do this?
No, I would say like AUSAID, the DFAT, like the British, the American, they are helping. But we don't have much information, but through various ministries, these groups are helping, some of the NGOs are helping.
But it seems to take forever. I mean, we have Mr. Niranjan Devaditya, the MEP, who is a special advisor to the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. He is on the board of many...
and he comes and opens a French restaurant here.
Exactly.
That's what he does.
So why can't he, for example... Why can't Mr. Wickremesinghe get hold of him and go to the European Union and secure some funding for some specific project?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, Niranjan has tried to help, but I'm sure they can do more than opening a French restaurant here. And maybe he would have used those funds to go and help the Northeast.
I'm sure that these restaurants are also part of the greater ambience required. But I mean, that's the thing, we don't seem... They want us to do various things to comply with international ideologies and whatever, and commitments, but at the same time, they are not, in my view, they're not doing enough to help Sri Lanka.
And also, but do they know the grassroots? Do they understand? That's something which we have to look at. You have to have, where the masses, how they behave, how they live, they should look at all that. Do they understand their day-to-day problems?
Indeed. So that that is it's sad, but I'd like to see somebody coming along and saying, let's look at. I keep going on about the water problem in the north, because there is a problem, and the water is contaminated. I think because there's no overall plan for sewage and so on, and over the years it has, and now with the north getting busier with more
Father Christmas comes once a year, but now the Father Christmas is also becoming very poor for us.
Is that right? So perhaps that's why the previous government went to China, because they had the money.
That's true, they have the money. Even now, see, it's very interesting. China is investing in Australia, the US.
Yeah.
So there's so much of money, there's a lot of investment. But when we ask for money from China, others have a problem.
That's right.
The others have a problem. So, like, they have this famous saying where people say the Jewish run the US, right?
Yeah.
And then others say, no, then China owns the US.
Right.
There is that. So we need, like, as a poor country, we need money from everybody to develop our country, because we suffered for 30 years.
Bundle, I noticed that you brought this little tuk-tuk. What does it do? Why have you brought that here?
Because that's common man's, vehicle.
Transport.
But I mean, maybe this is, now the Prime Minister is in India, and so is the Minister for International Trade.
Yeah.
You never know, they might bring more tuk-tuks.
More tuk-tuks. But we don't have a minister of Tooks,
Yeah.
or for Tooks.
Yeah. How about you sending an application for us?
Do you think Ranil and Malik will ride in one of these?
Really, I sincerely, it's not a joke, I hope they do. I hope they go to the Fort Railway Station. I hope they travel by bus and understand the people, which they don't do it. Now, when I asked the JVP leader here, when did he last use public transport? He said 3 years ago. That's a shame. So without knowing, flying in cars and other things, they wouldn't understand the people's problem.
That's right.
They really should do that. Like we were saying, talk about Jaffna, they should come down to earth.
That's
they
right.
should. So this is a reminder from Newsline.
And when the new Minister of Foreign Investment and Trade, Malik Samaravikrama, when he asks the diaspora to come back to the land of their birth and make investments here and to bring back their expertise here, perhaps Mr. Samaravikrama will realize that these people who have now lived for 20, 30 years abroad are highly unlikely to want to go and draw water, contaminated water from the well to have a bath with, because they are now into power showers and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, that's ground reality.
Yeah, but I hope these our politicians understand, because I mean it's very important for them to understand the people, how they feel, their heartbeat. That's important.
True, and they should all be made to go regularly by public transport for them to understand the chaos that goes on.
Yeah, definitely,
there.
because we are in. If our country cannot improve public transport, there's something wrong. India, you have better public transport. Big country, better public transport. There is something seriously wrong here, because they wouldn't care about the masses. You should go to the Peta bus stand. You should go and see how people are suffering.
But we had a president who was very keen on developing the road network and the transport network. I am now told, and here we go, I'm now told that there is no direct bus service, the highway bus service, from the town of Tangol to Colombo. There is one bus, and that's run by the Sri Lanka Transport Board, but previously there were many private operators. From Tangol you can come to Colombo in 2.5 hours using the highway and in air-conditioned comfort. Now the people of Tangol got to turn up to get to Matara, and from there I happen to know
But come on, for us, South was developed. I know Kandy was neglected, Kurunegala was neglected. I'm President Rajapaksa went to Kurunegala just to get his votes. Now he's gone off.
Yeah.
So he should live in Kurunegala and improve Kurunegala. So
I'm told that he's looking for a house to set up base.
yeah, that's news.
Yes, that was another bit of inside something that a source told me yesterday, actually.
But unfortunately, it's all the time that we have for this morning for us.
What a pity.
And I would like to thank Mr. Bandulu Jayasekara for taking time to join us this morning.
Yes, thank
for
you,
us,
Bandulu.
I think it's time for your daily thought.
Indeed, this was sent early this morning, and I thought it's quite appropriate. Sincerity does not and cannot substitute for the truth. But you'll be happy to know, and as you know, that here at MTV we are committed to finding and reporting the truth. And on that note, have a good morning.